Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back at it again with another video. And today I am going to be doing the Superman movies ranking, including the new Superman movie, because I already did a Superman movies ranking, actually, not even a year ago. It hasn't even been 2 years since I did that video. But the new Superman movie came out, so I'm gonna do an updated ranking of the Superman movies. So, with no further ado, let's see where the new Superman movie stacks up into my Superman movies ranking. So, let's go. Okay, in last place again is Superman Returns. I fucking hate this movie because it commits the biggest crime in cinema, and that is being boring and uninterested and unoriginal. Okay, I get it. It's like a soft sequel to the Reeve movies, but they just make it so damn boring, and they're always referencing this callback and that callback and that callback. Like, we didn't need that, okay? Look, I love the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, yes, but I don't need a movie, shoving it down my throat that this is a sequel to those movies. And, you know, and also the casting. I'm sorry, Brandon Routh is very mid as Superman. I know he comes back as Superman in Crisis, but I'm sorry, he's got to be the most mid Superman actor. Like, he's not terrible. He's just like, but honestly, let's be honest, the only reason they even hired him is because he has a striking resemblance to Reeve. But, and also some of the things Superman does in this movie are so out of character. Like, I think I mentioned it in my other ranking, but, you know, Lois has a new boyfriend and they have a kid, and it is Superman's kid. Um, but anyway, Superman's like stalking Lois. Like, come on, that is not something Superman would do. He would respect her boundaries and not do that. But yeah, I'm sorry, this movie, very little action. I mean, I can't think of a good action scene. The only cool moment is when Superman catches the plane. But you know, other than that, it's just a sloth fest. Like, nothing interesting happens in this movie. It clocks in at almost 3 hours. I can feel the runtime, and it's fucking boring. Like, seriously, I just I don't get it. I don't get how some people can praise this movie. It's boring. It's it's unoriginal. It's boring. There's very little action in it, you know, and the plot is stupid. Like, Lex Luthor's plan is stupid. And the fact that they even used Lex Luthor again in a Superman movie is just mind boggling because, you had Lex Luthor in three of the Reeve movies and are arguably four because Superman 3 kind of used a Lex Luthor kind of clone. So you have like this Lex Luthor character in all your movies, and then you're gonna use him again. Like, you couldn't. Like, honestly, what makes me even more frustrated about this movie is the sequel to this movie would have had Brainiac as the villain, and it's like, why couldn't that be this movie? We could have had Brainiac as the villain in this movie. That would have been more interesting than using Lex Luthor again. Like, That's what frustrates me the most because we still have yet to have Brainiac as the villain in a Superman movie. And not just Brainiac, but, you have all these other Superman villains that they can use in a movie that they haven't yet. Like Metallo, Bizarro, Livewire. Like, come on. But no, they just choose not to use him and use Lex Luthor again. Like, come on. Like, so yeah, fuck Superman Returns. Still think it's the worst Superman movie because it's so fucking boring. So fuck this movie. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but next is the theatrical Justice League. I don't really have to explain why this movie sucks, but it's mostly because of the better version of Justice League, and all the stuff in this version that they just cut out that would have made the movie interesting and, not stupid. But this version is stupid. Now, this is a Superman ranking, so I am going to talk about just the Superman stuff and basically what they do with Henry Cavill in this movie, and they digitize his face or something. They do something to cover up his, beard, but it's stupid. It just doesn't work. Um, so yeah, but as far as Superman goes, he's not really in the movie because he's supposed to be dead. So yeah, but fuck Justice League the theatrical. There's a much better version of this movie that I will talk about, but fuck this one. And it's honestly disgusting of how this movie was even made. So yeah, fuck this movie. Okay, next is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Or as I like to call it, Superman 4, The Quest for Shit, because that's all you're going to find. But basically, what I said in my last ranking, and I still stand by it, is that this movie was made of a budget of $2. Okay, because you have Superman, you can see the wires. They constantly reuse the same shot of Superman flying, and it's just low budget, very low budget. When they flip a car or something, but you can tell it's like a toy car. And it's just really dumb. And the stupidest things that happen in this movie is that Superman's hair is holding this like metal like plaque or whatever, and Lex Luthor just gets a pair of pliers to cut Superman's hair. Like, come on, that's just like how? How did those pliers not break? And then you have Superman. He has wall building abilities, which is really stupid. Like, how did he get that power? And then you have the villain that Lex Luthor creates, Nuclear Man, who is just, oh my God, like, what the hell is that? So, like, Superman 4 has a lot of issues. It is kind of entertaining to watch, though, because of how stupid the movie is. But I still can't recommend it. Like, the fact that this was a send off to Christopher Reeve's Superman, like, I'll never forgive it because, he could have had a much better send off. I mean, part of it is Christopher Reeve's fault, if I could talk, because he's the one that basically wrote the movie. But, it's just, this movie could have been so much better. But no, they didn't have enough money and they did it poorly. And honestly, a lot of people say this movie isn't finished, and I can tell because there's a lot of stuff that they cut out of this movie. And a lot of the stuff they cut out, they were gonna use that footage for a Superman 5. Thank God they didn't, because it wouldn't have made any sense. But yeah, fuck this movie. This movie fucking sucks. It. I'm not gonna lie though, it is kind of funny to watch, but just how looking at how bad it is and how the effects suck. But yeah, fuck this movie. This is viewed by many to be the worst Superman movie, and I could see why, because it fucking sucks. So yeah, there you go. Okay, next up is Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. I'm sorry, but I never liked this cut. And I never got the love for it either. Okay, because like all the stuff, like they use like test footage. They use test footage in this movie, and I'm sorry, it feels incomplete. Like obviously it is an incomplete version because they couldn't get everything. But I'm sorry, there's a lot of moments in the theatrical edition of this movie that I like better. Like, you know, Lois is just a crazy bitch in this movie, in this version of the movie, I should say, because she jumps out a window that can definitely kill her just to see if Clark Kent is Superman. And yeah, you can argue in the theatrical version, she jumps down a lake, but a lake versus a high height on a building, I don't know. I think the lake is the more sane option because you're more likely to survive, So, and then the whole her pulling a gun thing, like I know it's a blank, but still, like, Jesus, woman, you're crazy. So, there's that. And also, Superman turns back the world again, and, I know he does it in the first movie, but at least, like, he just reverses it to where, like, he can save Lois, which I get, and I don't mind that. But in this version of Superman 2, he turns back the world to the point where the movie never happened. Which makes no sense because he fights the guy in the diner. He turns back time then to, to where the movie never happened. So when he comes back to confront that guy again, he just beats up that guy for no reason then. So, laugh all you want, but I prefer the amnesia kiss in the theatrical cut than this. Because, a lot of the people who complain about Superman turning back the world in the first movie, why not complain about it here? Because he literally reverses time to where the movie never happened, which I think is even worse. So I don't want to say fuck it because it's still Superman 2. There's still some, good moments in it. But when it gets down to that, where Superman turns back time to the point where the movie doesn't happen, fuck it. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of the Donner cut of Superman 2, and I don't know why people prefer this version over the theatrical one. I mean, it's mind boggling. So, yeah, I don't want to say fuck it, but forget it. Okay, next up is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Yeah, this movie, I have some problems with it. Obviously, it's a mess. It's notoriously a messy movie. Um, my main problems is, this movie robbed us of a Dark Knight Returns movie in live action and a Death of Superman movie in live action. Now, there are animated movies based on those comics that, are great, but it would still be cool to see those stories adapted in live action. And basically, what this movie does is, it just rushes things. Like, okay, it sets up the Justice League, tries to, because you have Wonder Woman, and then, it goes right into the death of Superman. So you have Doomsday, who looks awful in this CGI. I'm sorry. But yeah, it just rushes the death of Superman, which I have always hated. Like, why? This is Henry Cavill's second movie as Superman, and you're just gonna rush the death of Superman story arc. Like, I'm sorry, it just didn't feel earned. And Ben Affleck as Batman is good, but like the fact that Batman didn't have a movie previously in this universe, it just feels like he's just thrown in. Like, I never got that. I don't know why for the DC extended universe, why they couldn't just give us a Batman movie, then maybe a sequel to Man of Steel, like an actual sequel, and then do Batman v Superman. But everything just feels rushed and unearned, you know. And then you have Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, who's just really bad. Like, okay, he's not Jared Leto Joker bad, but he's still like over the top. Like, come on, this isn't Lex Luthor. When he's sticking the Jolly Rancher in someone's mouth, like, come on. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of this movie. I mean, and it just sucks because you have Henry Cavill Superman, who is a great Superman, and you have Ben Affleck as Batman, who's a good Batman, and you just waste them in this. So, but there are some good moments I do like the fight between Batman and Superman was good. I love, Batman in the robotic suit fighting Superman. Like, that was awesome. And he has like the kryptonite spear, like, so they didn't fuck up the fight. You have the whole Martha thing, which is kind of funny, but I get what Snack Schneider was going for with that. So yeah, I don't hate this movie, but it is a mess, and I'll never forgive it for, rushing things like the way they did, like rushing the death of Superman. So, I'm not gonna say fuck this movie because there is some things to enjoy in it, particularly, Henry Cavill as Superman and Ben Affleck as Batman. But, the flaws are hard to overlook. So, yeah. Okay, next up is Superman 3. Now, I actually enjoy this movie, okay, because, what works in this movie really works in this movie. Now, there are some things that don't work, like, you know, Richard Pryor basically almost taking over the movie. But if you look past those moments, there's some really good Superman moments in this. Like when Clark goes back to Smallville and, rekindles his, I don't want to say rekindles his relationship with Lana, but he visits her. That stuff's really good. Because it gives us more Clark Kent in Smallville, which is cool. And the stuff with evil Superman was really cool. Superman gets the red kryptonite, and instead of killing him, it makes him evil. Or I don't remember. Was it red? I don't remember if it was red kryptonite or not. But he gets some type of kryptonite, and it makes him evil. And the stuff with evil Superman is really cool. Like when he's at the bar and he's flicking the peanuts at the beers and he's breaking them. And then obviously when he splits into Clark Kent and you get Clark Kent versus evil Superman. Like that was cool. Like that whole fight, that whole sequence was badass. So like, the stuff that works really works. But something that doesn't work is, Richard Pryor basically taking over the whole movie. Like, I will admit he's funny, but this isn't a Richard Pryor movie. It's a Superman movie. And the villain, who's basically a Lex Luthor clone, like he's like a businessman. Like, come on, you could have used Brainiac as the villain, or hell, Bizarro. I mean, he's an evil version of Superman. Like, you could have, did something with that. But like, you know, I don't know. I can't say I hate the movie though. There's a lot of stuff I like about it. And I don't really want to say it's a guilty pleasure because I'm not really guilty for liking it, but you know, the good stuff outweigh the bad stuff in my opinion. So, yeah. Okay, next up is Zack Snyder's Justice League, the better version of this movie. It's 4 hours long. Now, I will admit, the runtime, I can't watch this movie in one sitting. Like, I would have to watch maybe the first 2 hours and then, go back later in the day or the next day and watch the other 2 hours because a 4 hour movie is just really ridiculous. Like, they could have trimmed some stuff out, and just, keep all the important stuff. But then again, it is Zack Snyder's movie, and he was robbed of the theatrical cut. So, you know, I'll let it slide, but it's still a pretty long movie. Like 4 hours, Jesus. But it is a better version than the theatrical cut. More characters get more development. You get more development on Cyborg. You get, more development on Flash. Like, so it is cool for all that stuff. And yeah, the good things in it, like I are really good. You know, I don't know if this should have been included in the ranking because there's a good there's a good whole 2 hours, almost 3 hours that Superman isn't even in the movie because he's dead throughout it. But still, it is, Superman. You get to see Henry Cavill, really awesome. Technically, the last time we get to see Henry Cavill as Superman, if you don't count his Black Adam cameo. But yeah, and he's in the black suit. I think everything is showcased better here than the theatrical. So yeah, it's really awesome. Even though I'm not a fan of them rushing the death of Superman, it's still cool seeing, Henry Cavill come back into it. So yeah. Um, do I even need to say more? This is a much better version than the theatrical. And yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely a must see. But again, little too long. Watch the first 2 hours, take a break, then watch the next two because the I do feel the runtime despite it being good. So yeah. Okay, next up is Man of Steel, which I still love this movie. I think it's great. I think it's a great origin movie for Superman. And Henry Cavill is awesome as Superman. And, again, very sad to see him go. I think if we got more movies with him as Superman, more people would like his Superman. But as it stands, this is his only standalone movie, and it's a damn good one. I really like how they handled the origin of Superman in this. I like that like they sprinkle certain flashbacks throughout. I thought that was a really clever, film technique. I mean, it's probably been done in, many other movies, but I like movies that do that sprinkle flashbacks throughout. And yeah, it's great. Um, my only problems with the movie is, like I said in my other ranking, like Superman's Earth Dad is a dumbass. First off, the whole thing with the bus filled with kids that, kid Superman, well, kid Clark saves, and then, you know, you know, he's like talking to Superman, okay, Superman, Clark, about showing his powers, and Clark's like, what am I supposed to do? Let them kids die? And he said, maybe. Like, come on, really? Like you, come on, Snack Schneider. You had him say that, and then when they show the flashback of him dying with the tornado, like you damn well know your son has superpowers and you can stop it, but you didn't let him, so you died of stupidity. Like, come on. I did not like the writing when it came down to Superman's dad, his Earth dad. But other than that, I have really no problems with this movie. Michael Shannon as General Zod kicked ass. Um, he probably the biggest threat in any of the DCEU movies. And the fight like was amazing between him and Superman. And the whole neck breaking thing, I'm sorry, I liked it because this dude was killing people and he was trying to kill, other people. So, I mean, Superman had no choice. I don't know why people complain about that. Like, you can physically see in the movie that he was trying to kill those people. What else was Superman supposed to do? So yeah, now do I think Henry Cavill's Superman is, you know, the greatest Superman, like when it comes to Superman's values? No. Because there is a lot of damage that he does when it comes to the buildings, and yeah, they fuck up a lot of buildings, then in actuality, Superman would be like, okay, let's take this somewhere else. Like, yeah, I'll agree with people who criticize that. Like, Superman could have easily like made sure they were fighting somewhere else, because a lot of buildings do get fucked up. But anyway, I still love Henry Cavill as Superman, and I do love this movie still, despite a little bit of issues. But I still think it's great. Um, you know, like it was just I don't know. It was just great how they did it. Like I love how they like showed Superman's origin in flashbacks. And I love how badass Henry Cavill as Superman is. Yeah, okay, he's not bright and colorful like any other version of Superman, but that's what makes him stand out. He didn't try to take from any different Superman adaptation. He did his own thing, and he did great. So, yeah. Okay, next up is the new Superman movie. Um, yeah, like I said in my review, I thought this movie was great, you know, and even after seeing it and, getting my review out, I still think this movie's great. Um, and I really can't think of a single problem I have with it. You know, one thing I did forget to mention in my review is the whole thing of Superman's parents and, his actual parents and what they actually said in that message that Lex Luthor uses. Um, you know, I don't have a problem with that because this Superman like learns from that. So I actually like that take on the character. But yeah, I forgot to mention that in my review. See, that's how much that wasn't a problem for me. I forgot to mention it. But no, I think it's cool how they did that. Because this Superman basically really learned from himself, which I thought was cool. But yeah, all the stuff I thought was cool in this movie, I still think is cool. I think his name is Nicholas Hoult, but I didn't remember his name for the review, but his name's Nicholas Hoult. He is my favorite Lex Luthor. I think he is the greatest Lex Luthor. Like out of all the Lex Luthors in film, I don't like Jesse Eisenberg. I like Gene Hackman. He's classic, but I have to go with Nicholas Hoult as the best Lex Luthor. I mean, he knocked it out of the park. Like you really despise this guy, but he knocked it out of the park. He did great. So yeah, and Crypto was awesome. We finally got Crypto in a Superman movie. Awesome. The Justice Gang was awesome, especially Mr. Terrific. Probably the best character outside of Superman. So yeah, this movie was fun. This was fun, you know. And despite me loving this version of Lex Luthor, I do wish we could have gotten to see other Superman villains in movies. I hope for the sequel we do get Brainiac. That would be awesome. But I'm not gonna hold my breath on that. But yeah, I hope we do get a sequel to this. I mean, we're probably going to, but I would love to see a sequel with Brainiac, or use some different Superman villains. But despite that, I do think Nicholas Hoult is the greatest Lex Luthor on film. But yeah, this movie was great. I still think it's great. David Cornsweet was awesome as Superman. Is he better than Christopher Reeve or Henry Cavill? I think I don't know. I might do a Superman actor ranking or tier list. But yeah, this movie was great. What more can I say? Okay, next up is the theatrical version of Superman 2. The better version, in my opinion. But yeah, I love this movie. That's probably why I'm so. Like, I don't want to say I hate the Donner cut. I don't like the Donner cut of Superman 2, obviously. But maybe one of the big reasons why I don't is because I've always loved this version. You know, I mean, I think Superman 2 is great, almost as good as the original. Not quite, but we'll get there. But yeah, this movie's awesome. I love General Zod as the villain, the main villain. You still get Lex Luthor, which it's cool. I like his involvement in the movie, but honestly, like, and I forgot his name, but he steals the show as General Zod. I mean, just awesome. But yeah, I love how Superman loses his powers in this movie. So it's just like Clark Kent, and then at the diner he gets his ass kicked by that dickhead, and then he realizes that he needs his powers. And I what I love about this movie is it's like a kind of a vacation movie. Like Clark and Lois go to Niagara Falls, and it's just it's just really cool. And General Zod's on the over there, you know. Um, and yeah, I love the. This is probably the best movie to showcase the Clark and Lois relationship, which is awesome. And Superman fighting Zod, man, that was you know, and it was done better here than in Man of Steel. Because as much as I love Man of Steel, they take it to, Superman says, too much destruction. Let's go to my home, which is, what Henry Cavill should have did in Man of Steel. But still, like, it was just awesome. And, I love when Superman gets his powers back and he just fucking, honestly, it's up for debate if he killed Zod. Well, I think he did. When he grabs his hand and just throws him down. You know, that's honestly though, like, why do people complain about Henry Cavill killing Zod at the end of Man of Steel when Christopher Reeve Superman killed Zod at the end of Superman 2? But people are gonna find different things to complain about, if they should complain about it or not. But yeah, it's just great, and I prefer the Amnesia Kiss over Superman turning back the world again. That was stupid because it just wiped out the whole movie. The Amnesia Kiss at least makes sense, and you can argue why doesn't he do that with the different villains? Because why would Superman kiss a villain just for them to forget? Like, come on. People can make that argument all they want, but really, I think the Amnesia Kiss works for this movie instead of Superman turning back the world. Like, would I preferred it if Superman just told Lois and she just knew and nothing happened? Yeah, maybe. But if I have to pick between an Amnesia Kiss or Superman turning back the world to just wipe out the whole movie, I'm going with the Amnesia Kiss. So yeah, but Superman 2 is a great sequel, just really, really great. But my number one Superman movie will always be the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. And is it really a surprise? This movie's legendary. It's awesome. You know, Christopher Reeve, what more can I say? He's always going to be Superman, the greatest Superman ever. And I don't think he'll ever be topped as Superman. Gene Hackman isn't my favorite Lex Luthor, but he's classic. This is a very classic movie. You know, I love how Superman's origin is done. Honestly, this is the best superhero origin movie. You get the origin. They basically show you Clark Kent growing up. And then you just get right into Superman. It's awesome. You don't need a 10 season show just to get to the origin of Superman. It's right here. You get it. It's done. Then you get right into Superman. It's awesome. So yeah, what more can I say about this movie? It's classic. You know, and it's just classic comic book how they do it in the comic books. Lex Luthor's plan. Is it the greatest plan? Probably not, but for the time, it was just great. You know, um, and yeah, it's classic. The whole real estate thing. um, but yeah, what more can I say? It's just great, greatest Superman. Um, and yeah, greatest superhero origin movie. So yeah, what more can I say? It's a classic, and the whole Superman turning back the world at the end. Is it goofy? Yes, it's goofy, but he does it to save Lois. And his father says that he shouldn't do it, but he does it. Just to save her. Um, so yeah, I think it's a bit goofy, yeah, but I like it because it doesn't wipe out the whole movie, and I don't know, I've always had fun with it. Um, but yeah, what more can I say? This movie's great. The how can I not mention the score? I mean, the John Williams score, it's iconic. So, yeah, Superman the movie is always going to be the greatest Superman movie ever. I don't really think there's a Superman movie that can beat it. I mean, you know, I don't know. It's classic. There's not really much more I can say about it. It's classic. So, yeah. But that was my ranking for all the Superman movies, my updated ranking. And yeah, I had fun doing this. I love doing rankings. And yeah, this was fun. So, however you guys rank the Superman movies, that's cool, but this is my ranking. So, yeah, it was great.